Hi, good morning, everyone. How are we all doing today? How is the week? How did it go? How was it? So we're here again, as usual, every Saturday, where we'll come with different topics of our choice and also relatable to us that all of us can have a voice on. And the more we continue with these different campaigns and it gets to whoever parties and one or two people learn from it. So as usual on Connect and Reflect, we bring you relatable topics of interest and we hear our view and opinion on the said topic. And as usual, that we usually come with different sweet topics, which all of you can agree with me, that will come with sweet topics. Today we are talking about teenage pregnancies. Teenage pregnancy. Who is to be blamed? Is it the government? Is it a religious organization? Is it the school? Is it the parents? Or the boy and the girl in the game? So when we talk about teenage pregnancy, who is to be blamed? Who? What are the root cause of teenage pregnancies? What do we need to do to avoid teenage pregnancy? And what education do we need to give our girl child, our boy child about sex education? So these are many more we'll be discussing today. Who is to be blamed? A lot of people blame it on an organization that the church should have told them about abstinence. They should have told them about the values that comes with abstinence. So also the monks, they could have taught them that even though it could be their time whereby they are experiencing different changes in their body, they feel attracted to opposite sex. They feel that now they feel loved. Somebody's saying I love you. Somebody's seeing you as attractive, and they want to explore. So are we going to blame that religious organization? Are we going to blame the government? Maybe the government should have just said, if you get pregnant very early, this is the punishment that comes with it. I'm just joking. We are quick. Why I'm talking about government is like we are quick to blame so many things on government, whereby sometimes we should be accountable for it. So that government part is just a joke. Like, could it be government? Maybe government needs to make life easier for all of us so that we don't get attracted to opposite sex and because of the financial gain. A lot of people get pregnant at teenage age because they are looking for any guy that can give them money. So could it be government that government should make life bearable for all of us? Number two. Number three, could it be the parent who has not instilled discipline, instilled values, instilled education into their to their children? It could be a boy, it could be a girl. So I'm not particular about girl here now. Like whenever we're talking about teenage pregnancy, most time we'll focus and beam our touch on the girl. But this time around, we want to look at both parties in it. A girl will not get herself pregnant. It could be another boy or probably another old man, which we'll call that old man a pedophile. So we're talking about teenagers getting each other pregnant now. So could it be those girls and boy in that space should be blamed for teenage pregnancies? Or could it be the society? Could it be the environment? A child could be well trained, get all the education, but if he sees people doing it in their environment, he could be lured into it. So are we going to say the environment or the society who indulge it? And if you look at our streets now, we see a lot of teenage. If you look 2 streets away from you, you will have seen one teenage pregnancy here and there. How do we get here? Where are we going to? How far are we going to continue with this? And it's becoming a norm now that we have a lot of teenage pregnancy. So where are we going to? How do we support these people? How do we educate our kids? And when you say a baby birthing another baby, then what are they going to raise in that new baby that they just birthed? What value will they instill in that baby? So it's becoming norms. Like you see somebody of 40 years is becoming a grandma because baby is birthing baby every time. So how do we stop this? And to cap it all, when they have that baby, oh no, they'll put so many things on the baby, do braid as long as their own on their baby. They put, glue, eyelashes on your on babies, you know that it is baby betting baby. So who do we blame for this menace in the society? So while we wait for our other hosts to join us, we'll be looking at what we need to do. Who is to be blamed? Could it be the parents? Because a lot of it, Tony, could it be from the parents, babe, that the parent did not raise the child well? So how did we get here? So let me tag our members so we can join this conversation and get going without wasting our data. Where are my other co-hosts? Teenage pregnancy is a menace in the society. We have too many kids, betting kids now. Especially there's this lady who it's Miss Mitchell, what that name is. I think her focus is on empowering teenage pregnant ladies. She helps them to get all the medical care that they need to get, and she supports them. So what are the root cause of teenage pregnancy and how can we address them? So those are the things we'll be looking at today. What are the roles of parents, the school, and the community in preventing teenage pregnancy? How well have we educated them on sex education? Like, how do we prevent sex education? Are we going to blame it on their mothers, on their parents, who has not guided them or guide them on how to relate with opposite sex? Or is we need to, the girls knows what is right, they all know what is right or wrong, they just get themselves into that mess. So how can we promote a healthy relationship? Is there any way you can have a relationship with opposite sex and still prevent pregnancy or prevent sex? Is there a way, can we go back to those days that we can still date without asking or demanding for sex? Can we go back to those days when we have healthy relationship? Can we go back to those days where boys and girls, what they know about relationship was just, talking, like, oh, somebody to talk to, somebody to express love with, without getting intimate, without getting or ever of those things that we talked about. So what support system are available? So what support system do we need for teenage parents? How can we improve them? So these are many more we'll be talking about today. Let's get other co-hosts here. I don't know what's delaying them. Everybody wake up, collect your money. Teenage pregnancy. A lot of school girls have dropped out. I remember while I was in secondary school back in Chagam, there was one of my classmates that had a baby immediately after our exam. And I was like, well, teenager then, and just had a baby then. Like, is there anything that could have done to prevent that? A lot of people could not continue their life. Hold on, please, 1 minute. Let me pick this call. Hold on. So, hi, Adesegun, how you doing?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Yeah, fine, thank you. How's been your week?
We thank God. We thank God. We thank God. So we're looking at teenage pregnancy today. Teenage pregnancy, and if you look at our society, it's so common. We have a lot of babies birthing babies,
Mm.
and we want to look like how did you get to this stage that sex becomes something so random that anybody can get it. You will see a 12-year-old has been disflowered, and probably in the next after 2 years, she gets pregnant. Like, how did we get here? How did we get to having what's it called? Babies birthing babies? Who is to be blamed for it? The society, their parents, the community, the religious organization, or the girls and the boys in the game?
Okay. Well, I don't think how we got there is rocket science. There's no rocket science to it. The moment when we started embracing some certain values, and when we started saying that some values were not needed, and you know, of course, we're going to get there. One of those things is the way we bring up children, right? And we talked about the part of sparing the rod and spoiling the child. We talked about the part of ensuring that we discipline the children and we give them proper training, and we don't just accept Western ideology, right? So typically, these values have been watered, not been able to really stand with the core values that we used to have. How did we get to the point where now our children don't even have to make the real cutoff? They don't even have to perform well. They just have to find a way to scale through. Whether the way they pass does not really matter anymore. All that matters is the fact that they pass. So these are all issues that have contributed to this point where we've come into a society where we can be able to be and accept with you know the fact that marriage is not do or die affair, and that even sex is even easy. And the moment we've been able to establish the fact that we're in a society where it's easier to get, of course, things like marriage will become valueless. So a lot of things, a lot of policies, a lot of things that we have embraced have led us to where we are today. So unfortunately, the children, the parents, and even the society are the ones who bears the consequences of all this bad upbringing that is out there, unfortunately. So who will bail the cats? That's the question that nobody can answer. Who will be the one to boldly say that the society is a mess?
So, if I understand you correctly, what I just got from that message is like the society is to be blamed that we are not raising the wholesome kids anymore.
Yes, the society is to be blamed. Everybody is to be blamed.
Hmm. So, how can we address the society now?
Well, addressing will really be a tough one because it means that we are going to have to go back to some of the values that we already bastardized, some of the values that we already felt like, you know, it is us being woke people. So we're going to have to start thinking about how we are going to begin to instill more discipline in children. Back in the days, it was a thing of value, was a precious thing. This day now, it could be a stigma. People see it as something that is valueless this day. So at the end of the day, right, go back to the days when we cherished the right things, when education was important, when education was of value, when if you come out in school, right, with flying colors, the society will celebrate you. These days, even coming out in colors, they will start telling you that it does not mean that you're going to make it in life. It does not mean that you're going to amount to anything in life. These are issues that are being sold. And that's why you find people who are influencers who did not go to school, they can boldly confront people who are actually educated, and because they feel like they can buy and they can truly buy them out. Because at the end of the day, the society is mediocrity. And those in the mediocrity spaces are actually making it big. They're actually the ones calling the shot and all. So the things that value, we're no longer valuing them. And until when we are able to go back to that disposition, of course, rotten, and things will continue to go bad.
Yeah, talking about that, we have a lot of parents who had their kids at very tender age. At that time, they were so ashamed to have their to have their child then. But as time goes on, as they grow, the kids becomes a blessing to them. Like, oh, I remember somebody was talking. My first child is 70. She's less than 40, probably not 35, and her child is already 18 years old, 19 years. And she will say proudly, like, my child is so, as if that child has added, so much value to her. Like, now I'm proud mom of, I'm soon be a grandma because I had my child so early. At that time, it was a thing of shame. I know somebody who's probably in her 40s, who had a child who's already 30 years old. And she will say proudly, like, my child is almost your age. I'm like, because you had this child early does not mean, I don't know, you get what I'm trying to say here. So a lot of things, as I'm just trying to buttress what you have said about having child in those teenage age. There used to be thing of shame, but now people are now placing so much values on it. I don't know if you get it. So it's now become a proud thing to be pregnant at early age. And what if you peradventure you now make it in life, that child does not really affect your life that much. Oh my God, you become a good person. So what roles are the parents playing in this? Is there a way that parents could have probably monitored the child? Don't come out late and let me know where you are going. Let me know when you're coming back. Don't just give the child too much freedom to come around. Even some people will be proud to bring their boyfriend, introduce their boyfriend to their parents, and their parents is nothing bad in that. We dare not do that in our days, even if they know that you have, or probably you pretend that, but now they flaunt it. So, what roles do parents need to do especially with this era of advent of social media?
So typically, I think one of the things that actually led us to this point is um, when we really started money, when money became, the beginning and the end of everything that we actually care about. I think that's where we actually got into this whole mess, and I think that's where we got it wrong. A child can get pregnant, right? Back in the days, when the child gets pregnant, it's a thing of shame, just like you. But these days, when the child gets pregnant, all that matters is whether she's from the person who is responsible, wealthy home. Whether the person is even a responsible person, whether the person has anything to do, and whether the fact that the person even getting pregnant at that age is supposed to be a top being swept aside. Everybody just wants to know whether it's from a wealthy home, whether there's money to throw around and all that. So that's the thin line that we got to, that made us stop caring about those tiny little details, right? When and how did we get to the point where somebody will start Yahoo Yahoo and money home, and instead of the parents asking for the source of the money, they just see it as God blessing them and all that? How did we? Because we began to idolize money. The society began to idolize money, and we still do today. We still do today. We celebrate people of mediocrity just because they have money. Just because they have money. Even our religious institution, at a point where we talk about, and we only reference those who actually have money. Those who actually have other values are actually being swept aside. They can't contribute anything substantial to any conversation that we're talking. So how we got here to the point where a child can actually get pregnant and nobody sees anything wrong to it is because we idolize money. We began to idolize other things that are supposed to be that we used to put aside. We began to see all that, and that's how the the inflow of things like baby mama, it became a thing. That's how we started looking at the advantages of even having baby mama, and then we started to water down the value of marriage, of how important marriage is. So at the end of the day, like I said, the society is the major contributor to this issue. How can somebody like um this musician we talked about the other time go to face the law come out openly to actually talk about the fact that he slept with a a 13, was he a 14-year-old or 15-year-old? You know, at a point that will even be regarded as a criminal case. It doesn't even evidence before it's even taken into custody. But now it's a norm that people can even come up and even say it on social. So, like I said, I still stand on the point that the society is actually the one that has led us here. Our different beliefs, and especially how we began to idolize and celebrate money. Yeah.
Okay, talking like I was asking, the values of parents. Do parents need to monitor their kids, whereabouts, where they are going, all this close because I remember during my time, I had a very close monitoring in the sense that I can't have what my mom did not buy for me. I remember those times I had a lot of friends who appreciate me with gifts, but I would tell them no because I know that when I get home, if my mom will find out, I'm in deep soup. So now, in these days now, I think like a lot of parents are now more relaxed. Give them, oh, I don't want them to have, trauma. We rush and call those things names now, or traumatize them, abuse them, let them have their freedom. We just need to teach them what is good. And at the end of the day, we have, a lot of them, messing up themselves because they're in that age of they want to explore themselves. They are feeling like they are loved. Somebody's paying attention to them, how they look. So now, with that, and if you now meet a guy that can sweet talk you, man, you're gone. So to avoid being around a man that will sweet talk you, a lot of parents will avoid that gathering. They don't want to expose you like to opposite sex. So do we start parenting like that? Do we start school teaching like sex education as a course on its own, or how to prevent pregnancy, or how to abstain from sex? How to manage your emotions, your urge? Are we really in that space? Let's take money out of this conversation because I know you are you are saying money, money. But let's look at other factors apart from money because a lot of things is not really money. It's just that we have parents are now loose.
Yeah,
Adeshegu.
you know, I don't think the education is I don't think the education is out there anymore. I don't think, you know, of even, you know, having intercourse is being put into the children at a tender age. But we were always scared because we understood that that is the thin line between your life going well and the thin line of you messing up the whole of your life. You understand? So I don't think the education is out there anymore for people to understand. I look at the examples that are even out there in the society, right? There are people out there who are actually, baby mamas. They are they are they are very much out there. And what does that tell you? Single fathers, single mothers, baby mamas. What does that tell you? It tells you that um it is even better off. It is even cheaper for you to go in as against you doing what? As against you doing the right thing. That it is cheaper for you to even become a baby daddy than you even becoming or you getting married and taking responsibility for these things. Like I said again, and just like you said, I don't think the right teachings and the right education is going out. And until when the whole curriculum that we're teaching is actually reviewed and we actually do it right, we'll continue to get the same result that we're getting. That's it.
Like I was typing, I said you're just projecting that you know that money has eroded a lot of values, and there's no doubt about that. And that's what you're just projecting. Like not everything is money. Sometimes it's just that parents are just losing. They are like this woke. We have a lot of woke parents now, and they are losing their values on what is expected. Now they care about no, we shouldn't hurt them, let them do what they like, be responsible for what they do later in the future, which shouldn't be. It should be a factor of what you want for them, like you know is the best. And talking about how we were raised, being a girl child and how I was raised, when I look back, I'm like, thank God I had my parents there because there's some movements Maybe they just narrow my movement. I don't go party, I don't go clubbing. I was so triangular, like school, church, home, school, church, home. Probably go to the market once in a while. So those were the things that they limited my movement. But now I was in Nigeria recently and I was in a hotel where we wanted to lodge. And I saw a girl that her breast is just coming out. Very small girl among all these Yahoo boys. I felt like I should get a cane and cane that child till they get home. Like, go back to your parents. Where were your parents when you were leaving home? Where did you tell them you were going this night? How would the parents be that loose to let your girl child leave home that night to a club in a skimpy dress? What for? Is it just that? Is this how we are now raising kids to get? And at the end of the day, the child comes home with pregnancy. Then you now blame the society or blame, who do we blame on that? Because I believe parents should do more. Though there are some parents that are trying, the child is just not compliant or not listening. Or I just feel parents need to do more. That's my opinion on this. So is there anything that
I think we all need to do more. I think we all need to do more. Parents need to do more, and even the society at large needs to do more. One of the things I try to do is to ensure that no matter what I do, I don't get carried away with, and I don't to be in a haste to make money, and I don't begin to celebrate somebody because he has money and all that, and not because of um the fulcrum of doing. So we all need to do better. We all need to tell ourselves the truth, and we all need to find a way to to balance it, to know that what we're actually doing, how we're training our kids, how even the life we live, the kids are actually learning from us. They're learning from us. They're seeing us, and it's affecting them. And at the right time, they are going to act to project onto others what they have learned from us and what we have projected upon them. So we all need to do better. The parent, the society, the religious institution, everybody needs to do better.
so now how do we promote healthy relationship? No, we can't really outrightly tell a young girl, teenager, not to have a relationship in this generation unless you just want to lie. Say, oh, don't have a relationship, don't get into boy and girl. If you tell them that, we're just speaking to ourselves. So now, how do we tell them to keep healthy relationship? Must all relationship end up on the bed? I'm trying to understand that.
Yeah, you see, it's not a hard thing. It's not a hard thing at all. We need to tell them the truth. We need to learn not to sugar. And the truth is that you are not supposed to even be underaged. As much as it's not catching up with us, do you know now, underage marriages cannot be done openly in the north, unlike before. Underage relationship cannot be done. What it means is that they're also getting there, they're also getting advanced, they're also getting the right knowledge that they're supposed to get. So we need to tell ourselves that even telling your child that they can date when they're in their teen, I think is wrong. You should tell them that is wrong. That's not what they should be supposed to be focused on at that time. They're supposed to be focused
Mr. Adeshegun, it's
okay,
just
go
our
ahead.
reality. Though we were told not to date then, but we were dating quietly, secretly then. My parents didn't know that I started dating very early, probably in my history. They did not know I was hiding it. So a lot of parents do not want to live in that denial. So they want to tell you, okay, if you want to date, these are ways to do it instead of doing it behind me. I don't want you to lie to me anymore because we lie to our parents. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. We lie to our parents, but our parents like, okay, we don't want you to lie anymore. Just tell us the truth. But this is just a way to do it. What do you say to that, Mr. Ajashegun?
I did, but I'm still saying, even though we were doing it right, we understood that it was wrong and we hid it. And that's how it's supposed to be. We are supposed, you see, there's this teaching I agree with that you should be open to your children to the point where they can be able to be comfortable to show you who they are dating.
Oh, hello. So I was talking to myself.
Okay,
Can you
I've
hear
not been
me?
hearing anything since.
So I was talking and I was muted. Look at me. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. And you?
Good. How was the week?
Very fine. Grateful.
So, um, super. I was talking on mute too. I didn't know that I was talking on mute. So we're talking about the root cause of teenage pregnancy. We have a
All
lot of
right.
them in our society. A lot of school
Yeah.
dropouts that they get pregnant, and we're asking who is to be blamed for this pregnancy. Is it the girl, the boy, in the game, or their parents who did not instill values in them, or poverty from the parent to them, the society, or the government, or some religious organization too? So who do we blame for this teenage pregnancy?
If we are going to start blaming, the blaming will go round. So go round. But that doesn't mean that we all don't have a role to play in what is actually happening. Okay, because in my own time, let me put it that way. it's not as if there is no teenage pregnancy, but it is not as rampant as it is now. I remember my uncle saw one of the girls that we go to school together with a man, or a boy thereabout, and he came back home and asked if whether I know about it. I said I don't know. I was beaten to stupor. I wasn't the one caught with a boy or a man. It was someone we go to school together. I was beaten. And you know why I was beaten? So that I will not start thinking I would I will also do the same thing. I was not caught. Somebody else was caught, but I was beaten so that I will not start thinking I will I will follow suit. But the truth is that when I was in SS class, a lot of us already had boyfriends. But we are always hiding it. We are always hiding it. Even very few of us are already exposed to sex and sexuality, but you dare not say it where your parents are. Because in those days, one of the things is that um, the value system, the value system will not allow you to do some things, and even if you do, you don't do it in public. The same way in those days you can't smoke weed in public, but now people smoke weed freely, even on the street. Do you understand? So in those days, the value system is high, and to a large extent, we kind of follow it because, like Yoruba proverb will say, "Ojú kọ́ ló ń bímọ, ìgbà ojú ló ń bá wò." It's more like community parenting. If somebody catches you with a man, before they will even report you to your parent, they will have dealt with you so I don't make mistakes. But it is not the same thing now. It's not the same thing now. Things are really, really, really different now. The society encourages, to a large extent, these kind of things. The music they listen to, you see bomb being thrown everywhere and everything, you know. You see even adults exposing their boobs. And to a large extent, these children learn more by what they see and not what they hear, what you tell them. So by the time you as an adult, you go around with boyfriends, you are systematically telling them it is okay to do same thing. And because a lot of them are actually naive, it's easier for them to catch pregnancy. Let me say get pregnant. It's easier for them to catch pregnancy. Unlike in those days, a lot of us are actually, some of us did not even have sex while in secondary school. A lot of us don't. Because of the fear of what if I'm caught, what if I'm pregnant, what if I'm this, what if I'm that. And so as such, a lot of people are actually smart at the end of the day when it comes to sex and sexuality, if eventually they are having it. So the society, I think, contributes to it. Parents, and another thing is that a lot of parents now barely have time for their children. Why? As much as we say that parents should take care of their children, part of the things you will need to take care of your children is to work and make money so that you can actually fend for their basic needs. And in Nigeria today, if one party is working and the other party is not working, if it is actually not a good work, all of you in that family will suffer for a fact. Because even two of you are working, you are still not be able to meet up with bills, you know. So it forces parents to work extra hard and extra late. As such, they are barely with their children enough to have a conversation with them, to actually teach them the way. Do you understand what I'm saying? It takes a lot of intentionality to actually do those things. So one of the things that is actually affecting it is,
Economy.
are you saying something?
I just wanted to ask, like, between their work and their children, which one is more important? So now you're saying as if a lot of people place the work income over their children because they will need to make
Yeah,
money
their
income.
children are their children are very important. But if in a case where we want to say that the work is not important. We are saying that though it is important that you get a job that will give you time for your children, but the truth is that you still need to get something doing. As much as I want to, how do I say, like, put the blame on parents, which is okay to do, though some parents don't know when to create the boundaries and what kind of job to take so that it can give them access to their children. Some parents actually don't know that, especially some mothers, husband. But the truth is that to some women, they actually take their time to look for jobs that give them flexibility in order for them to be in the life of their children. I have, I work in a school, so I see a lot of things.
Network. Oh.
You know,
Tayo, your network is broken, Tayo. We can't
my
hear you.
network is
Mm-hmm. So what
that's the
will
HM.
yeah, it's still broken.
So bottom line is the society value system gone down. Parents too has a role to play in what is happening. Even the children, some children, they want to see something, so they want to explore. Despite the fact that they've been told that these certain things are not right, some children still want to explore. And sometimes you cannot be everywhere they are every time. So in such case, those children to have a role. Do you understand? Then so a lot of things actually play its part into what we are seeing now. And yes, some work parents too, they don't mind. They will even be the one telling their children to go out and explore that you are missing. Therefore, I was shocked. I was shocked. You know, some work parents too have a role to play in what we are seeing now. Like somebody said that what do you expect from a child raising a child? You don't expect much. You don't. So basically, that is my own submission.
Thank you, Tayo. So Mr. Tunde, you're welcome. Hello, are you there?
I'm on keen on it.
How's the week?
We thank God. Ọjọ́ kan pẹ̀lú.
Yes, sir. So, from the angle of being a guy, you were once a boy and you had a girlfriend, but I don't know whether you got her pregnant or not. Or maybe you don't know how many kids you have outside now. So I think they were buying. So who is to be blamed on teenage pregnancy? Is it the boyfriend there, the girl herself, the parents, or the society?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm driving. So I think Sister Tayo said a whole lot of things that captures the issue that you're talking about. I think majority of the course is on the parents, while the society kind of like share part of it. The way I'd like to put it is the way the world is. Uh, the way the world is such a way that 90% of what kids know is taught to them by the world, right? Because they have unfiltered moments when they are not in the house. What I mean by unfiltered moment is when parents want to give their children some information, they kind of like have a way of quoting it. You don't say it the raw way, the absolute truth, right? So you want to codify it, you want to make it seem, for lack of better word, um, PG-13 when you're talking to them about it, right? But when they go out to the world, they get the 18 plus version of that thing, right? And I agree with what Auntie Tayo said, The only other thing that I want to provide my opinion on is the flip side, in the sense that most of the time when kids learn things outside, they learn because the parents have given them a sort of information that makes what they're going to learn outside so bad. And walk with me here. It's going to make sense at some point. And I'm sorry for, well, I'm not sorry. I'm not apologizing for it. For using an analogy of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and Satan. I love to say this whenever I'm having conversation around this line, that when God told Adam and Eve about the fruits of, that grants wisdom and all of that, what God said is, when they eat the food, they're going to die. Is that true or not? Yes, it is true. When the serpent eventually met with Eve and said, well, if you eat this fruit, you're not going to die. Is that true or not? It is also true. It's about the perspective of what the person that is told understand it to be. When God said they are going to die, it means it's an eternal death, right? But the devil painted it in a way that, well, you're not going to die, talking about physical death, right? And Eve thought, oh, physical death, and he ate the fruit. But she didn't die physically, but she died eternally. Now, let me take it back to the issue of kids and all of that. See, when we're talking to our kids about something, and again, I'm saying our kids, my child is too young. I've not started this kind of conversation with him. The world will make it so that your parents are not cool based on the how they kind of like put the conversation that the parents have had with them and what they are hearing from the world, right? Sometimes when the parents say, oh, if you touch girls, right, or if you touch men, you're going to be pregnant, right? And then the world have a way of making them see, well, you just touched someone, you're not pregnant, right? Then it now kind of start registering in the mind of the kids that, oh, our parents are lying, right? This is not going to happen. And then they start exposing them to some of the things that the parent does not want them to be exposed to. Now, what am I saying in essence is, there's need for us to have conversations with children in a way that they would understand that what I'm telling you is not going to lead to death, but it's going to affect you, so that you don't have to explore. But that by the time the world is presenting this sexuality to them, they know already. They know, well, what are you telling me that I don't already know? But I know in a filtered way, in the sense that I'm not saying that if you touch a man, you're going to be pregnant, but it leads to pregnancy. I think that is the only portion of it that I didn't hear the early part of the conversation, right? But that is what I feel like, if I have to think through how parenting is and how you talk to kids about sexuality and all of that, that is one thing that I want to say. But like Yoruba would say, want to see everything. It doesn't now mean that because you want to expose them to things like that, you're not telling them to explore, just as Auntie Tayo said, because now you're giving them a free hand to go and do the exploration. A kid that doesn't have the smartness to handle the exploration, right? So I would say on that front, the parents should do better. The second part is, honestly, there's a statement that Auntie Tayo made that kind of like makes a lot of sense, which is, how do you expect a kid to raise a kid? Because, and whenever we talk, I always say that the societal issue that we are faced with is a progressive issue, in the sense that what we're experiencing now is worse than what happened in the past, right? And unfortunately, the sad part of it is, what is to come is going to be worse than what we have right now. So how do we change that?
That's why we're having this conversation, so
Exactly.
we can change it.
How do we change that? To me, the first thing is we need to bring shame back in our society. I think shame has lost its place. There's really no shame anymore in our society. And it goes back to the ills of social media. I think social media should be regulated. And it's a responsibility thing, right? In that when you see some kids that are exposed to some things, and then you're talking to them about what they are doing, you will discover that it is actually the grown-ups that should know better, that will be telling you, let them live their life. That is what is obtainable now. Let me give an example. There's a pastor that made mention of, and I'm sorry if I'm again, this I will apologize for, because it's not my story it's not me, right? The pastor was talking about how Pella, you know Pella now, and the girlfriend are now living, couples life, doing what couples do. And the pastor was saying that, and those are the people that are quote unquote role models for kids in the world. And then this Pella had the audacity to come online
and shame the pastor and talk against the pastor.
Exactly, and be shaming the pastor and be saying that he's going to sue the pastor, right? That is actually not the unfortunate thing. The unfortunate thing is you see grown-ups in the comments, like in a way applauding. What is the word now? The boy. Like, why would the pastor be saying something like that? I think that is the problem. I don't know if it is the place of the government to ensure that there is, freedom should not be too much. And I think that is what we are having right now. That freedom of expression, that freedom of chasing clouds. That's why you're going to see people exposing themselves. I think I read an article now that Nigeria's porn industry is actually one of the biggest in Africa, if not the world right now. And that is what happened. What is the government doing about restricting that? So that is a part of the society, in that society is giving the children so many things that are unfiltered, and then they are done that. Can you still hear me? Okay.
Yes.
They are the ones that are tagged cool. So again, to kind of summarize it, parents need to be the ones to take the charge. Honestly, no one can teach your children better than you will. Parents need to take the charge. Know how your children move. Know who your children move with. Restrict social media that your children are exposed to. Then on the society's part, we need to come back to that community parenting that Auntie Tayo said, and be monitoring each other's kids. When you have someone's kid that is going wayward, and I was talking, and I remember the toxic thing that they always say that we were raised in a toxic way. That is stupidity as far as I'm concerned. We need to go back to that point, and then the government needs to restrict the social media space to ensure that what is consumed by, because the problem is more than what we are saying.
Like you lost word for it. You can't describe that. It's just a lot. Like, it's overwhelming. So, the school needs to play any part here? Probably we need to inculcate sex education into our schools, or probably we need to talk more about it since they are in school. They spend more of their time in school than at home. So maybe school also need to play some part here as being a teenager, and they are always in school. Tayo, being a teacher, you want to say something about that?
Okay. Like, for example, there is sex education even in primary school, but it is not sex education as a subject. It's sex education under subject. And when it is being taught age appropriate. I can remember something happened in a particular class. Can you hear me? Okay, I can remember something happened in a particular class, and I had to teach them sex education, and I had to go a bit further to teach them about puberty. Because one of the things I realize is that if I don't teach this particular class puberty, it will, if the person affected is not careful, might likely go wild, you know. So I had to teach puberty and how puberty works. Though a lot of the kids in that class already already had an idea of what I was teaching, but there is a particular I think a child or two are really not in the know of the subject. So I noticed that, and I had to explain to those ones what puberty is and why I am teaching it. Because I want to be intentional about the teacher. I don't want a child after being taught is now curious to go and explore. Because while we are trying to save those ones that are trying to go out, we should also be mindful of those that are naive. Okay, so I had to balance it wholly, and I think I taught them like 2 or 3 times before they had the class. They should be sex education age appropriate, not just in school, even at home. For example, I told my children, anywhere your singlet and your pants can cover, you don't touch. Nobody should touch it, despite the fact that they are still small. And you don't touch other people's own too. Anywhere their singlets and their pants can cover, you don't touch people there, and you don't allow people to touch you there. And because I bait them, I told them that I am the only one and their dad that can bait them, you know. Then I also told them, which sometimes I do, sometimes I forget, I will not lie. When I want to bait their private parts, I tell them, I'm going to bait your private parts. So that they will know that they need to be consent when some things are involved. Then I told them categorically, nobody, aside from myself or your daddy, that is if he's baiting you, should touch you anywhere your singlet and your pants can cover. And I think this should be said to a child even as young as 3 years old. All right, so that they will begin to understand, and it starts for you from parents also, not just the school. The responsibility should not just be mainly in school, because even if these things are being taught in school, it's not all the teachers that have the fear of God. All right, some people, we don't know who devil is pushing, and will intentionally teach children in such a way that he can have access to them. So even as parents, we should be mindful of what our children hear. We should be involved in their life. I know of a parent who said that she does not know how to start a sex conversation with her child. All right, she has a male child, and she said that she does not even know how to tell the child that this is your penis. And like, what is there in penis? Then I realized that we are different people entirely. Then I told her that it is either you tell your child yourself, or somebody tells your child in the wrong way. So you have to you have to be courageous, take away the shame, and talk to your children, because it is important they hear it from you first. There is the law of first mention. If an outsider mention a particular thing first to your children, they hold that person as an authority to that thing. For example, if you go to a police station that somebody hits you, the police will listen more to you than they will listen to that person. Even if eventually you are the wrong person, they will still tamper justice with mercy with you. Because why? You were the one that reported first. There is a law of first mention. Whoever says something first or explains something first, kind of to some extent, owns that conversation. Same thing with your children. If people are discussing sex to your children, they will get their attention more than you do. And another thing is repetition. Fine, you might not be the first person that will mention anything sex to your child, but let them hear it continuously from you, constantly, repeatedly from you, so that there is the thing about repetition. Subconsciously, you are in the know. Do you understand? So it is important. Schools are, I don't know about secondary school, but in primary school, there is a bit of sex education in the book, but it is not enough to actually help your child. So as parents, this thing should not just be saddled with the school. It should also, parents should be intentional about their children. See, no matter how long you stay at work, try and create, even if it is 1 day in a week, 2 days in a week, to be around your children. Be intentional about the things you speak to them. Let them know that you care. Let them know that you are interested. Because even your few times that you are around, you are with your phone. They cannot get your attention. They just do whatever they like. You are too tired of them. You tell them to go and watch TV and all that. They are not bonding with you. It is important you bond with your children. So let me leave it here.
Thank you. That was deep. Anyways, thank you. So let me start from the one you said something about um telling them, okay, it was Bertone that said it, telling them how it is so that they don't learn it outside. This age appropriate telling and telling them the truth and probably the why behind it so that they understand it. And if they're going to have that conversation outside, they already know the why. So nobody's telling them what it's not. That reminds me of when I was back home. And in our church, we don't even wear hearing. I saw my friends wear hearing in school. But I was the only one who wasn't wearing hearing. And I do not understand. Would this lead me to hellfire? Those were the questions I was asking. Like, so that means everybody that wears hearing are going to hellfire. And my daddy said something. He said, no, that is not what will lead to hellfire. It's just that we are obeying the law of the church we attend. The doctrine of the church says we shouldn't, and that is why we are not because we'll get to a fire or not. So, and that was the only thing that gave me a coping skill for me to, navigate life. So, and also the same thing with trousers and skirts. I was very scared till I finished my university. The only thing I couldn't hide or probably, be dodging or probably wear it behind them was because I had a coping message who told me that it is just because the church we attend asks us not to wear it, not because it's a sin or not. So if anybody asks me why are you not wearing it, I'll tell them till I leave this church, I will not. So because that is the rule of the church. So that was and that helps me in how to guide my thoughts. Same thing with sex. My parents will tell me why you shouldn't have it. Because I was very closer to my dad more than my mom growing up. So my dad just brought a book. I don't know where he was also, he's a teacher, so he has a lot of access to books. He just brought a book. Don't do it until you say I do. It's a very small book. I still did not forget the title of that book. That was the title. Don't do it until you say I do. And that book was very helpful for me growing up. So those were the little seeds that was so in the life of our kids that we might not be intentional. When we're saying it, we could say it casually, but it holds a lot of esteem. It holds a lot of water in the life of our kids that they live with it. So now let's talk about the community we live in. A lot of people will tell you they just live recklessly. They just live anywhere where their house is cheap. They just live anywhere because that is closer to their work, or just have more flimsy reason to work. Should we include our child's life and also in the environment of where we live? If you know that this environment is porous to gambling, illicit sex, or should we live there, or probably because of our children live in a certain environment? I don't know if I'm putting my words very well. Some environment we know that there's a lot of gunshots around. Children are reckless here. They sleep around. The boys are Yahoo boys. Should we say because the house is cheaper, or you don't care, you don't put the life of your kids in place, you just rent a house, knowing that that environment could have, an effect on your child? How do we select the environment we live in? Bertune.
Sure, Lotu. Yeah, I think the question you asked, there's already an answer for that question. And the truth is, yes, you have to consider all of that when you're selecting where you're going to stay. Because what is this adage? Can you call spoil the broth or something? One bad apple. Yeah. So if one bad apple is potent enough to spoil a whole bunch of apple in a basket. Imagine putting good apple in a basket of bad apples. That is going to be, I mean, it's already straightforward. So I think, yes, we have to strike a balance. Of course, you may not be able to stay in eyebrow area like VGC and all of that. And in fact, VGC does not even mean that there's no bad people there, right? But one has to be very, very careful when you're choosing where you want to stay, right? Of course, if you're staying in, and I'm sorry for using this analogy, if you're staying in Oshodi, what is this sort of Ajegunle, you know that it takes extra work for your kids to be good at the end of the day. I'm not saying kids from Ajegunle or Oshodi are not good. I mean, they are good ones, right? But what I'm saying is that area already has already started the process of affecting your kids, right? Now, if you stay in a conservative, more calm, better areas, of course, you now know that at least that area had already cemented the foundation of your kids having a higher propensity for being good and all of that. I remember even in the US, right? There's no city where you go that there won't be areas where there's violence and all of that. A brother of mine was asking me about choice of cities to stay in the US. And he mentioned that as well, that for kids and for work. And the response that I gave him was, well, I don't think there's any bad city in the US. I don't think there's any good city in the US. It depends on where you're staying, right? In Houston, if you go and stay in the fifth ward, third ward, I'm sorry, you're going to get fifth ward, third ward outcome. If you go to the suburbs, yes, there's a difference in that area. So yeah, like again, all the piece that I'm saying is just to say that the question that you ask is a no-brainer. The answer is you have to consider the people that your children are going to be interacting with before you think about where you're going to stay. It is very important because even the money that you're trying to save because you think the place is expensive, by the time your kids become a junkie or become one thing, or what was the word that Auntie Tayo used? Peak pregnancy, or what was it? And then the kid become a burden. Of course, if any kid become pregnant, it becomes your liability. Then the expenses that you're running away from, you're eventually going to have to spend the thing. And again, I think there was a question that you posed. We need to understand that good work, making money is good, but everything still revolves around our kids, because whatever it is that you're earning, if you're not having peace of mind, if your kids are not giving you peace, you'll be lean, even if you're eating 3 or 20 square meal in a day. So yeah, I think it's important to consider that as well.
Yeah, because I was talking to someone yesterday that I didn't know that men cheat in marriage until I finished university. That's crazy, right? Because I didn't live in an environment where I get to see cheating men. So all my friends, my family friends, those people who go to church together, I've never had a case of my husband is cheating. So it wasn't open to me that it's possible men cheat in relationship. Just after university, I'm like, oh, people cheat, yeah? I didn't even know. So it's possible somebody can be in a relationship and still be dating someone else. I wasn't exposed to it. It wasn't in my thoughts until later on I got out of my circle. So how do we promote healthy relationship? Like I was saying to Ajashekun before he left, that a lot of parents are living in denial. Like China and I were saying, we started dating, but our parents were not in the know. But a lot of today's parents want to be in the know so that they can guide their child. Like if you have a boyfriend, let me know. I'm not saying you shouldn't have one, but I can guide you on how to relate with him, on how to.
Can I quickly attend to this, please?
Yes.
All right. So the issue of parents being in the know is actually important. Why do I say that? When I was younger, I have this friend that she's so close to her mom that even we are jealous of the relationship she had with her mom, because we crave for that kind of relationship. I remember the first time I told my mom I had the boyfriend. That was after my SS3. Yeah, I think some couple of months after I finished secondary school, I told her because of what I saw my friend do with her mom. All right. She tells her mom practically everything. So it was easier for her to be safe. Very easy for her to be safe, because the mother advises her, tells her a lot of things, so much so that sometimes we had to tell the woman the things, our own challenges and all that and all that. So because I was jealous, my mommy too can be like this now. That was when I went to go and do crayfish and told my mom that I had a boyfriend. That was when I was even done from secondary school.
Did she beat you? Did she
Yeah.
beat you? Did she beat you?
She said, okay. Then I offended her at the park. I will never forget this day in my life. Because we were selling bread at that time at the park. So you can imagine a park where a lot of people come, board bus, people passing, bringing their families to come and board bus and all that. I was seated. I don't know what I did. I think she did. She said something. I replied her and all that. That was actually that. She can't blame me. When I've been started sleeping with people old enough to be my father, Jesus Christ. See, it was as if the ground should open and swallow me. Till now, it's always difficult for me to tell her some certain things. Because that thing never left my head. I was like, I was shocked. This thing she said was not even the thing that I said. I only told her that I have a boyfriend. This is his name, blah, 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 blah. I was even planning to bring the guy. Because the guy is actually a very responsible guy for her to see. Like, just be in my life. I have missed this for a very long time. Let me have it now. That was how it ended. That dream that my mother should be in my life, it ended that day. But my friend barely missed it because she had a mother who was ready to advise her. It's not as if the mother does not even chastise her on some things, but she will still tell her what to do and what not to do. Do you understand? So it was easier for her, and I think every parent, every mother should be in their daughter's life as they grow older, because there are mistakes you have made that your daughter can learn from. And I also think that every father should be in their son's life. Reason why I'm saying so is that naturally male children are attracted to their mother and female children are attracted to their father. But for the girls, they do not have the father do not have the emotion to take them on a journey their mother will emotionally take them through. And for the boys, their mother does not have the strength to take them on a journey that as a boy they should go with. So my own is that I'm not saying that you should should fight for place with your child in their life, but at least be in their life to lead them, even especially as they grow. And it starts from when they are young, so that you will not be a stranger in their life.
Okay, in my own case, while I was growing up, the fear of disappointing daddy and mommy did not let me to have a boyfriend. The boyfriend I had was just conversation. Let's just talk. The moment he said, let's kiss, I'm like, hey, I want to lead to what now, get pregnant, and my daddy will be disappointed, and my mom will be disappointed at me. So since I know that every relationship does not end in talking alone, because I thought it was only talking. I didn't know that there's more to talking in the relationship, in boyfriend and girlfriend. So the moment I know there's more to it, I just leave that angle, like it's not for me. So most of the time I discuss my friend's relationship to my mom. It probably gossip, just in conversation. And she keeps asking, what of your own? What of your own? I said, I cannot do what they are doing, because of the fear of getting pregnant and the fear of pregnancy will truncate my life. I've seen a lot of people in my environment that pregnancy truncated their life. Like they couldn't continue their school because they were pregnant. They end up selling fish, and my dad keeps, making me, giving me those options to make, to choose. Do you see this person? She was pregnant, and this is what ended her life. Do you see this person? She was consistent, and this is what ended her life. So he will give me options to choose. And since I've chosen the one I want, I have to work towards it. So I keep talking about my friends who have relationship, but I never talked about mine. Until I finished university, and my mom said, I ordered to stone now. I want to stone now. So apparently she was one that started saying, go and have a boyfriend. You can have a boyfriend now. So since I've completed my university, so that was how I live my whole life because I don't want to disappoint my daddy and mommy. So how do we?
So I want to say something real quick.
Okay.
And I think I touched on it tail end of our state. It is good to want to be involved in our kids' life, in relationship and all of that. The only thing I want to point out, which was what I said that Auntie Tayo stated as she was running up, is it is too late to want to be in their life at the stage of having relationship. We can't say, oh, okay, let me now start getting into our life about relationship. Now, I think it starts from beginning of their life, and not just beginning of their life alone. It starts from what they see, right? If it is a family where even the conversation between mommy and daddy is cryptic, right? They don't see a sort of dialogue between mommy and daddy, then it won't, like you said about the issue of not knowing that men cheat until much later in your life. I think at the formative years of kids' life, you don't even have to sit them down to tell them something if they've seen it over and over again being practiced, right? Like, how do you relate with your spouse who is their other parent? Is it a case of and again, it's not like I'm perfect in all of this, right? Is it a case of, oh, we're not discussing this, it's one and done, right? Or is it a case of, okay, what is your opinion on this? What is my opinion on this? Let's deliberate. And if you do that, by the time you want to now ease into having that kind of relationship with them, because they've seen it done with your spouse, they kind of open up to you. And what I mean by that is, it starts from things around, okay, let's say my son, oh, what do you think about this, right? You don't have to, because sharing things comes with vulnerability as well. I think parents don't want to be vulnerable to their kids. So they want to be the recipient of information without letting the kids into their life as well. I mean, if there's something bothering you, you can call your kid and say, okay, this is what I think, right? What do you think? To get to make the child, it's a conditioning, right? You want them to see you not as equal, but as someone they can interact with, right? So it gets to that point that if they now get to a point in life where they are faced with difficult decisions and challenges, you wouldn't even have to be the one to sit them down to say, tell me about what is going on with you, right? They'll be the one to come to you and say, oh, daddy, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think, right? So that is the conditioning to let them to come to you, right? And the second part of it is, if they start that, your response when they are bringing such issues to you will determine whether they're going to bring it the second time. For instance, the case that Auntie Tayo mentioned, I'm very sure after mommy did that, nobody will tell you, oh, no, we're not doing this anymore. Subsequent relationship, mommy is not going to hear about it, right? But even if it's not relationship, like let's say, because I know that I always say some things that there are some mistakes that you cannot avoid. You make that mistake. It may sound negative, but that's the truth, right? So let's say the kids make some mistake, right? How do you react when they bring it to you? Do you flare up like, whoa, what? Like I was telling a friend of mine, it's been a while actually. It was actually before I got married, and then we're talking about one kid that did something, and what he did, there was a level of smartness in what he did, even though he made a mistake. So I told my friend that, well, my reaction would be to say, you know what, I celebrate you for at least knowing this smart way of trying to wiggle away from punishment, because you want to let them know that, oh, the action that you've taken, okay, this is the action that you've taken. It's not the best,
right? This is what I would suggest you do to handle it differently, but not just jumping to castigating and all of that. Like, oh, what you did is wrong. Go into the corner and all of that, right? So sometimes when my son did something to my wife, of course, my wife being emotional, want to be like, oh, I'm going to beat you. I'll be like, okay, let's unpack this, right? For a child of his age, a 2-year-old child, to know that he wronged you and his next approach will be, mommy, I love you. Of course, he's trying to run away from punishment, right? But at least he knows that when he says, mommy, I love you, is a way of saying, okay, mommy will not punish me.
It will melt your heart.
Yeah, that takes initiative. Let's celebrate initiative. So the point that I'm making is, when we're giving feedback to our children, don't let us give feedback only when it is negative. Let's remember to give positive, even if it's like there's a say like sandwich approach, right? You can layer criticism with positive feedback. That is how such criticism are received in a positive way. But if someone did something and the next thing you be like, well, you're wrong about that. This is no, you shouldn't have done it. Well, the person will be like, well, why did I even bother, right? But there are opportunities for growth. If you can lay that in your criticism, it's going to be better. So let's not just get to that point and then let's cross the river when we get to that point. It starts from, like the Bible will say, again, I'm bringing Bible again, precept upon precept. So what formed their life does not start today. It's small before we get to that point. And by the time they get to the point of relationship, you will not be the one to ask them, oh, do you have a girlfriend now, or do you have a boyfriend now? They'll be the one to say, oh, I'm talking to this lady. Okay, now let's discuss it. It becomes easier that way. You cannot force information out of children, because I've been a child once and I know how it works. You cannot force information out of me. If I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you. But if you kind of like build that relationship into it, I'll be the one to even share it with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're talking about, you can't force information out of kids, and you don't just look at the negative things kids are doing. Let's also encourage them to be what the positive things they are doing, so they'll be very able to express with you. And that, as always, we plan. Yesterday I was asking Ife to write 1 to 20. So he wanted to write 3. He writes E, like the 3 was facing the other way around. So, and I waited till he wrote it to 20. He wanted to write 9, he wrote P. And I waited till he wrote it to 20 before I talked. He wrote 19 on the same way, like I am P. So the fact that was what he said. If he was the one, he would have corrected that 3 immediately. That he won't let it stick before he gets to 20. I said, no, I'll let him write it. All he can do, let me see his strengths. Then I appreciate the strengths. Then now call his attention to the one he didn't write correct. And that was where I saw the difference between how both of us, will handle situation. He wanted to correct it. He immediately was saying him writing it opposite way. I said, let him finish so that we don't discourage him from writing others, because now he will be more intentional and he'll be conscious of making mistake. Like he will be too conscious not to make mistake. In the course of that, he wouldn't do more. So I wanted him to explore what he can write. Then I started correcting where he got it wrong. So that is how to make sure that we don't cut off our relationship with the kids, because they say that mommy will always tell me that I'm wrong, and that will cut them off. They don't want to hear that, and they are scared of what else are they going to tell you that you will overreact on. So now, looking at this topic that we are talking about, how can we help those people that are already in it? They are teenager already. They are pregnant. How do we help them? How do we empower them? How do we support them? What do we need to tell them at this moment? We make mistakes in life. This is a very big, big mistake. If Adashebu was there, Adashebu said, "There's no way." Adashebu was so blunt, like it's just like this kind of person is just. So, how do we support people that are already in this mess?
Well, I think that it is actually it is not the end of the world. Being pregnant is not a sickness. It's a state of being, and it is something that will come and go. When you eventually have the child, One of the things I used to have a teenage girl. I had a teenage girl who was pregnant at the time, and she gave birth. And when before I eventually saw her, I think I told the sister to tell her that it is actually not the end of the world. Then when I was able to call her, I told her the same thing, that babe, it's not the end of the world. I told her, oh her, you are going to face a lot of challenge this time. And one of the things I will encourage you is to have a tough skin. Because the thing is that you have become a mother, you have no two ways about it. Then I told her you really need to learn how to train up your child in order not to make the same mistake you made. That if your child at your age gets pregnant, it means that you are failed. And I asked her, do you want to fail? She said no. So if you don't want to fail, you are failed as a young lady, and I'm sure you don't want to fail as a mother too. So you have to be intentional about how you train your child and the things you expose your child to. One of the things you should do is to encourage these young people that have mistake is bound to happen. Only that some mistake you wish you never made them. Okay, some mistake you wish you never made them, because there is no solution to them except to just accept your fate. This has happened, it has happened. It does not mean you'll have to deny your child, because some of these people, we've seen it in time past, even in our own time, that when they have their child, they give it to their parents, and they say that they've never had a child before. So the secret is between them and their family members. So it is not for you to lie about the child, and because if the truth eventually come out, you will regret ever lying in the first place. So it is better you accept your fate, you've had it, focus on your life. It doesn't mean that you can't go back to school. You only gave birth, your brain was not taken away from you. It was only a child that was delivered. Your brain was not delivered as alongside. So I will advise that they continue with life. I will also advise parents that as painful and as shameful it will be, they need to accept their child. Sincerely, they really need to accept their child. At least take the child from this teenage person. And if it is a family that they are poor, they should find a way to make the girl responsible while still pursuing a life goal. They should not let our life pause because of one child. Okay? Because of one child. I have a friend that had similar situation when she was younger, and the mother took the child, trained the child. She made the second mistake again, and she was left to face a consequence. Now she is the one using her life story to encourage teenagers not to make such mistake. But the family never cut her off. That's one thing the family did not do. They did not cut her off. They showed her love, though she was reprimanded. The thing is that, like I was telling some staff yesterday, that when you are compassionate, it doesn't mean that the person you are being compassionate to does not get consequence of their mistake. But while you are telling them the consequence of showing them the consequence of their mistake, you are also giving them a leveling ground to work. So compassion is important, is massively important in this kind of situation. It's not the end of the world. They can still have their life ahead of them. But in fact, the child is even the consequence. Once they see the child, they know that this is the consequence of my mistake. All right. So I think the society should also be favorable to them.
So, Baratunde, as a man, how do you support how should men support a pregnant friend or pregnant partner? Public school, two school boys, two Sunday school girls and boy got themselves, got the girl pregnant. How would the young guys support? How do we start changing? And also, if a girl is telling you, don't push for that. I don't know how to say. That's a different question, though. But that's a different thought on the question. That how do you support if you get somebody pregnant? How do you support the person?
If I guess,
Mm-hmm. As a boy, I mean.
I want to have someone pregnant.
I mean, as a boy, like what's your advice for other boys who get
So,
lady
so
pregnant?
yeah,
So you as a man advise your fellow men. That's
I
what I mean.
think,
Boys.
and I think I understand where you're going with your question, because so in the society, the burden of pregnancy typically fall on the girl, right, not the boy. And I think the right thing to do, right, is to let the boy know that, well, you have responsibilities now, right? So whatever it is that you want to do, you have to factor that into your life. It would have been better if you didn't do it, but you've done it. Now you have to face you basically um travel in time. You skipped to become a man. Now that you're a man. And then the truth is, being a man is not easy. You have to do that. Of course, again, like Auntie Anstayo said, it doesn't mean your life is over. It doesn't mean you cannot be great in life. Of course, there are people that did the same thing and they eventually become great. The only thing that can be said to such person is to face it and man up. It's not going to be easy. I mean, if you have to cry, you have to cry, but you have to do it. And the support comes with being there for the lady that you impregnated, whether in physical presence, or I mean, if you can't be in physical presence, because again, you're young, you really don't know emotions. Even grown up, we're still learning emotions of taking care of pregnant women, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had it probably easy. My wife in Nigeria, I'm in the US, gave birth or did all. I mean, I'm still grateful for that. So I'm still learning. I'm still going to have to learn that. But the truth is, it is not easy on the ladies. The best you can do as a man is to be there. I mean, if you have to go to our house to go and wash our clothes, it's your responsibility now. You have to go and do it. But don't now abandon the responsibility that you have, because Kileso,
I said I'll deny the pregnancy.
You have to take it. And I think it's not even on the boy. It's mostly on the parent of the boy. It is the parent of the boy that will have to enforce that. And again, by enforcing it, you're not saying that we'll take. I know what people say. Oh, we'll take the child, right? And I think Auntie Tayo mentioned that the parent will now assume the upkeep of the child, and then the boy will now be allowed to be roaming, because that's how the boy will not really see any consequence for his actions. And that when he doesn't see consequence for it, so he has not learned anything. He probably won't make anything of his life, right? But you have to sit him down and create a schedule, right? In that, this is what you've done. These are the things that you have to be doing. Do you have to take a job with your school? I mean, you can work with school. You won't die. And I think if you do all of that, there's going to be a beautiful story at the end of it. Because you, like I said, you skipped in line. You've skipped to manhood. Now you're starting things that your age mates will have to enjoy. I mean, you're enjoying things that your age mate will have to get into the future to enjoy. In the sense that you're starting early. You now know how to handle family now. By that time, it becomes easy for you. I think that is the story that you want it to paint for such boys, right? To know that what you're doing at this point now, you may see it as a disadvantage, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's going to be an advantage for you. What has happened has happened. You've made a mistake. The next thing is to make the most of it. Now you need to restructure the things, right? Maybe you spend time as a kid watching football, playing console games. You have to cut that because you are a man now. And at the end of the day, the lesson that you learn would help you in the future. But the thing is, it is going to be a deliberate thing, right? So that's why the boy will need a strong male figure in his life to walk him through that tightrope, because it's a tightrope. There are times that you want to say, you know what, maybe I'm not doing anymore. I'm sorry to say this, even as a married man, sometimes it gets overwhelming. that what have I gotten myself into, right? Sometimes I'll be calling my wife and I'll be like, Kinimo Sheba and sing. You understand? Because and I think the society do not say that enough. Society always wanted to say that, oh, the women go through a lot. Well, the women go through a lot physically and all of that, but the emotions for men, nothing breaks a man more than feeling inadequate when you're doing what you're expected to do. So that, and I think that is why it is important to have someone like the Bible say, the cloud of witnesses, right, that are cheering you along the way. In this case, the cloud of witnesses will be people that have gone through the same, it may not be a similar thing, like grown up, married men and all of that, that are, you know, positive male figure, let me put it that way, in their life. It is important to attach those to them, that hold them by the and say, and oh, say you already go here, buru, but buru say. Paraphrasing, it doesn't have to be that way, but you get the point I make.
So I think that's it, because most of the time in our society, the guy always gets away with it, and that's his only message. We ladies, the parents always say, if you get pregnant, it's gonna be you, like it's gonna be the girl's problem. The guy will continue with the school, then he will later tell you that you don't fit into the shoes, that I cannot marry you, now you have the kids, you can't go back to, because there's no way you'll be nurturing a child and go back to school in a full-time school. So those things were not coming easy for those emotions, and men always get away with getting a lady pregnant, and they continue with their lives, and they just remember sometimes in the future that they have a child somewhere. You know, when nothing is being done, they will come an absent father. The mother bears all the emotions alone, and somebody comes in the future to still claim the child. So no consequence for the guy. So now let's talk about those guys that manipulate girls into. Now I'm going back again, like, because it just came to my mind. Though I'm trying to round up the whole topic with the last question that I asked, but this dropped on my mind and I want to ask. There's a place the girl will tell you, no, I'm done. And there's a place the guy will keep, tormenting, tormenting, keep asking and asking again till the girl give in, say yes to what even she doesn't want to do. So is there a way that when the lady said no, the man should back up? Just stop. So that since you said no, maybe the moment I said she said no, but you want to retrain her and try to make her do what is against her wish. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Unless this person is a strong-willed person, then you'll be able to stand. Sometimes this guy will keep asking you. I know a guy who asked me out for 4 years, kilo day. Every day, calling me every day for 4 years to ask me out.
Then you know to if any.
She said no. When we have said no, take our no to be no. So how do we say? How can the girl say no affirmatively? Some girls will say no, but their body is saying yes. We know all of those ones. But how can a girl say no affirmatively, Tayo?
All right. The truth is that when you're actually alone with a boy, there is something called chemistry. The truth is that you can't control it. The least you can do is the little discipline in you will be saying no. That is why when girls, that is why I say it is important for mothers to be in the life of their daughters, because there are things that you have experienced as a girl that you can share with your daughter, in that you know that emotion is chemistry is real. All right. And the thing that is why the Bible, when it comes to all of the sins, it says that thou shalt not, you should not do this. But when it comes to sexual sins, it says you should flee from all sexual appearance. It did not tell you to not do, say flee, because it's a strong feeling. It requires you living practically, not in your mind, living physically, for you to be able to avoid whatever consequence of that thing. So when you say no affirmatively, sometimes your body is saying yes, and smart boys know when your body is saying yes. Sometimes smart boys, they know that your body is saying yes. They don't have to ask you again, they just have to touch you. You will fall like a pack of cards. So the moment you say no and he is still insisting, the best thing to do is to walk away. Walk away. That is one of the things we need to teach our children. We teach our daughters that when you say no and he's still insisting, probably in action or in word, leave the place. And we should learn to tell our boys, when a girl is saying no, take a no for no. If you think that your body is still running haywire, find a way to take the girl out of your house, or a way to bring more people in so that it can douse the tension of the chemistry. Because the truth is that it is blood that is flowing through our veins, it is not sand. That is the truth. All right. So it's not somewhere that you say no and no now, no, and you are still there. What are you still doing? No, and you are still there. If you're actually saying no, you leave. And I think that is what I can say to that.
So
Thank you.
So one of the reasons why I love listening to Antitayo is hits the nail on the head, right?
Yeah.
The aspect that I want to add is for that works for boys that really share the same belief of wanting to flee. And I will explain. The way we are made, of course, we've heard it so many times. Men are driven by what they see, right? Women, it gets to the touch, right? And again, boring.
It's what they hear. It's what women hear.
Okay, what you hear. But the point that I'm making is this, and what I'm saying is going to sound like providing excuses for the men. I'm not. I'm only just being realistic in that the responsibility at that point, more of it falls on the ladies. Here's why. You're in the room. You close the door. You've already made mistake, right? And then the boy is asking you, oh, let us do. And you're saying no. Yes, your no may be valid, but there's something called green light. And I think Auntie Tayo mentioned that smart boys. See, the way boys gauge acceptance from women, because at that point, they're not thinking from their head anymore. They're thinking from the third leg. The way boys gauge acceptance, it may be wrong, but it is in the fact that you're still remaining in that position, even after saying no. What is the point of saying, already you know the intent behind, you know the intention, you know what this guy wants to do, and you now say no. I'm sorry to say this, your no will not suddenly make the aroused idiot stop being aroused. I'm sorry, that is the truth. So the way you're saying no, the interpretation in the boy's mind is, she's not there yet, press further. You understand what I'm saying? So the boy in his mind will be like, okay, let me keep hitting the nail on the head, persistent and consistent. So
let me speak on the girls, because I'm talking from experience now. Let me speak on the girls who is still seated in that situation. It's like, I love what I'm hearing, but I don't want to do sex. I love the attention I'm getting.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I love how you are telling me how much you love me, how beautiful I am. I love the attention I'm getting, like all those sweet things you are saying to get into my legs, but I don't want to get into that.
I'm sorry, don't love it. Loving it is an ingredient for disaster. That's what I'm saying.
I'm being a devil's advocate.
Yeah, I understand.
Ladies are sitting down while they are still there. They still want to. They like the guy. They want to build relationship with the guy, but not sexual relationship. So how do they manage? Like, okay, I like you for who you are. You're cute. I like our relationship. I like how we talk. I like how we get along. But I don't want us to have sex. Can we just stop this sexual conversation and still keep the friendship?
All right. I love where this is going, and I love how we're keeping it real, right? See, in relationship, and again, what I'm saying may sound like I'm making excuses for the boys. I'm not. I'm only just saying it based on what I know. In relationship, right, it is easier for the men to lose focus than for the women to lose focus. You see, for women, it is okay for them to say, oh, I love how we talk, right? But for men, it doesn't end at talking. The progression happens faster. Now, if you're now following this boy into compromising situations, okay, side note, there is a pastor of mine back in Wu that made mention of something that, and I love it. I've been hearing pastors. He's probably the only person that I see that really demystified the situation with that truth, right? He said, you can be brothers in church and sisters in church, right? No matter how anointed you are, if you walk into a room and close the door, if any pastor tell you, and I'm sorry for being vulgar here, that because I want to say it verbatim, the way the pastor said it, and that's the pastor is a youth pastor, so I could relate with him. He said, if any pastor tell you that Okwe Onile, the pastor is lying to you. That's the truth. And for a boy,
and also to add to that, some people say, no matter how anointed you are, that thing is not anointed.
That's another conversation today. Anointing does not remove the self, it only provides a covering. And what it does is the Holy Spirit will not force itself on you. You have to allow it. So you can be anointed like Baba Dausa. If the Holy Spirit is nudging you and your strong head, my brother, my sister, you will fall. So back to what I'm saying, in that immediately you enter that room, immediately the boy voiced out to say, let's do. You as a lady know that you're not in law. The boy is already gone. The boy is gone. It is now left to you. You are the last frontier. Is it the last frontier that they call it, right? Because you're still not moved yet, right? Although you may say, oh, I love the way he's talking to me. You're going there, get it. You're about to fall into cliff, but you still have your senses. While you're still thinking about you having your senses, the boy don't lose his sense. He doesn't have sense anymore. So the responsibility at that point is for you, like Auntie Tayo said, flee, not walk. Flee. Flee is like run in 2x.
Advanced way of running.
like there's a pastor that they provided an analogy, like if you watch cartoons, like all these Pink Panther and Bugs Bunny, you know how when they want to run, they first do and that was how the pastor said that is what flee is. You flee and not look back. That is the only way you can help yourself, because like I said again, your no is not enough for the boy to say, okay, I'm not doing anymore. The interpretation of your no
Or network. Anyways, I think we did justice to this topic. I just remember the fact that how to say no affirmatively for a girl without compromising your standard. A lot of us, we have the standard from home, but when you get to that guy, he keeps talking you till you lose guard. And after it's done, you'll be like, oh, I didn't want to do it, I let her do it. And you don't want that to happen. So most of the time we lose guard. So any last thoughts, Tayo? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. So what I also say, like, buttress what he said, is that the moment the guy takes sex, just know that all the blood that is supposed to his brain has gotten to his third leg. All right. All the blood that's supposed to go to his brain has gotten to his third leg. So there is nothing else he's thinking other than that. And I can't blame an average guy, so that is where the. So for you as a girl, it is you that you will help yourself. So in essence, I think that wrap all of this up, we live in a society where we really need to come together and do that, especially for our children. Right? And if our adventure they make the mistake, as much as we should let them see the consequence, we should be compassionate enough to help them in to help them work the work. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, they are children, right? Then finally, we should actually be in the light of our children, so that though mistake can always happen, but at least you will know that to a large extent
You
you've
did
done
that.
your best.
Mm-hmm.
So if even if mistake happen, you will be justified. But sometimes your child makes mistake and you know that it is your fault.
Yeah, you know
You
that.
understand? You will know it is not the child's fault, it's your own fault. That you
Mm-hmm.
did not do what you're supposed to do. But in a case where you have done your best and the mistake comes, you will at least to a large extent be vindicated that you tried. But the child made a mistake. And let's not the child assume that because you are understanding, then the child is, whether boy or girl, is devoid of the responsibility of being a parent to the child. No. Even if you are going to take the child, you should ensure that this person that makes mistake is very much available for the child. One of the reasons for this is so that the person will not make the same mistake again. The person will be conscious of the situation at hand. And it also makes the person to be stronger in the face of life, whether boy or girl. Because by the time you go through the challenge, you will come out stronger, you will come out more experienced, you will come out with better knowledge. So that is what I would like to say to this.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. I think this is all that we got for today on today's topic. Thanks for joining this conversation. So we talked about the causes of the teenage pregnancies, how to handle it, how to prevent it, and the consequences. Thank you all for joining. Everybody that was part of today's. Someone is speaking. Everybody that was part of today's conversation, we really appreciate you. Thank you. Bye.